Hello, my name is Richard Halter, and this video is on Creating APIs 101. What's fascinating about this video is the original presentation for this was created over 20 years ago, and today we are still concerned with, quote, creating APIs. To show the complexity of defining your own set of APIs, this is a business process model for automated ordering and fulfillment, where it starts with an IoT device, goes through several processes, has a robot fulfill the items in the store, and finally having them delivered. So in this simple use case, what are all the interfaces that have to be defined? Well, let's take a quick look. Here's the process model. Here's a model of all of the applications in retail and the potential interfaces for those things. And then these are the interfaces that have to be defined for just this one use case. Now, the interesting thing about this is at the very high level. When you get into the microservices world, the number of interfaces you have to define grows astronomically. In 1994, recognized the problem that was on the previous page. A group of retailers got tired of buying new equipment, like a new point of sale, and then having to go change all of their interfaces to all of their applications and the data model and everything. So they created a group called the Association for Retail Technology Standards. What you see here is the standards that that group created. It started with a set of blueprints. These are in effect requirements docs to help guide the effort for building these things. Sets of design documents. Now I've extended this list dramatically. Technical reports for interfacing with various things like a payment system. Best practices documents. They had to have best practices to make sure that their standards were standard between each other. All of these interface definitions, and these are in fact the APIs that we're talking about. They fundamentally exist in this. Device interfaces for being able to connect up and communicate with various devices. Also API definitions, widely adopted by the way. And then you have to have a place to store that information. And so there's a common data model so that you can then run your business intelligence against it. That was actually the first standard released by this group in around 1998. And then you want to be able to buy these applications. And so they've written a set of requests for proposals to help with that effort. So how do I build an API? As you can see, it takes an extensive amount of effort to build one. On average, those APIs that you just saw took anywhere from 8 months to a year to actually create. It started with a lot of research, making sure that I had all of the right kinds of information necessary to put it together, making sure that other standards didn't exist, other APIs didn't exist, and if they did, making sure that this API supported whatever it was that they had done. I then had to perform a use case analysis, identifying the use cases that this API was going to cover. Once I've got the use cases in place, I was able to then identify individual information for each use case so that eventually I can aggregate it up into a single API model. I wanted to look for leveraging any existing published API models. I identified the services that this API was going to support, particularly important now in this microservices world. Once I had all of this, I was able to then model the domain for this API so that I could show how all of the pieces fit together. And in building this domain, I had to link to a common dictionary to make sure that I used the same set of terms in the same way as in all of the other work. Consistency is absolutely important in defining an API. Because if I call something a product and you call something an item, we're not communicating. And we have to have a translation there. Those who fail to study history are bound to repeat it. The modern API revolution is taking us back to the pre-1994 world where everybody's going to create an API. They think they have the absolute best one. And what will happen is somebody's going to have to write a translation from their API to somebody else's API. And we're back to the mess that started the creation of arts. It's much better to leverage the existing material that is out there than it is to go create your own new set, thinking that you know better. So thank you for listening to this. My name's Richard Halter. I have a YouTube channel out there where this was posted. I've got a blog as well at globalretailtechnologyadvisors.com. I have a couple of courses. One is a self-paced course talking about the microservices architecture and all of the components that you need to make it work. There's also a course on POS Log, which is the lifeblood of retail. Point of sale information is used in virtually every application there is in retail. So thank you for listening. Oh, by the way, I've written a book as well called Arts for Retail, which gives you a good insight into how all of this stuff fits together.